Let me ask you something that might feel a little uncomfortable if you are managing a remote team or are thinking about outsourcing. See, do you actually trust your team and how they spend their time when you cannot physically see them working?
Because you know what? That's a question that you are probably thinking about, but just not voicing out. But it actually shows in how you communicate, how you manage your team, or even how much you want to get updates from your team.
Yep. So this is where our topic of conversation comes in, time trackers. It tries to solve a very real problem, but often becomes the focus of a debate. Yes or no?
So today we're talking about time trackers. What problem is it actually trying to solve? What kind of time trackers there are? And what's the resistance in actually using time trackers when you're working with a remote team? So welcome everyone. Welcome.
Welcome everybody. Welcome back to BizNest. So Penny, I just wanted to say that we actually have a time tracker right now, don't we?
Yeah. Yes, we do.
Yeah, it comes in the form of the recording and somebody reminding us about that.
Yeah, what time it is and what we're actually doing every single time. But you know, that's actually pretty okay for me because we do need a time tracker, I guess, to keep ourselves what do you call this, like on track in what we're doing. So, but then I didn't expect it to come in new one form.
Oh, but you know what? Now we're on how many episodes in, and we still forget how to do this. Welcome everybody to BizNest. My name is Francis,
and my name is Penny,
and together we are. No, we're not. But we are going to talk. We are going to talk about in business and in outsourcing. And especially when dealing with people who do remote work, the topic of how can we keep track of productivity actually comes in. And there have been several iterations of how to track productivity. A, why it's important. B, why it builds trust. C, but also, can we go too far? And are there inherent problems of trying to track somebody's time? So I would go with why people need to have their productivity tracked, which is where time trackers come in. How many time trackers have we gone through? Anyway,
oh, quite a bit for different reasons. Yeah, quite a bit for different reasons.
Not sponsored, but happy to be sponsored. Time Doctor.
No, Hubstaff,
Monitask.
Clockify, Monitask. Yeah, those are the ones that we've used.
Clockify.
Yes.
and of course, when we were doing when we were freelancing, when we'd go through different marketplaces, they have their own time tracking.
Yeah, time trackers built in.
Also very convenient. Yeah, but where it's necessary. I do see the value of it because you don't have to expense your time in terms of reports at the end of the week or at the end of the month, which also can become very tedious if you're only doing it once a month, because you how do you go back 30 days or even sometimes just 1 week and saying, what did I do on Monday? What did I do on this hour and that hour? Having somebody else do it for you. I see the reason why you should be doing it. Well, you're sitting there. But what I mean is, on the topic of time tracking, sorry.
So just for the benefit of our audience, what are time trackers first? So there are a couple of kinds of time trackers. There are time trackers where you're just going to log in and then you're going to log out, or at least tag it that you're on break or on lunch, and then you log out. And it really tracks the time from log in to log out. But there are also time trackers where it's a little bit more detailed, meticulous, in a way where you log in, it takes a screenshot of your screen every 10 minutes or whatever setting.
Randomly every
or
interval.
Randomly. Randomly every 10
it's the
minutes.
random bit. Yeah, it's the random bit that kind of gets you, but also very very
Yeah.
necessary. And where you
So
have to, and then it tracks what was your, like, what page of your
yes,
laptop you're
the URL.
on,
Yeah. Yeah.
how
So
many
it takes a
clicks, what
screenshot of
kind of
that.
activity.
Yes, keyboard clicks, keyboard strokes, mouse clicks. So there's a lot of different time trackers out there, and for some they're customizable, meaning you can turn off some of the features, meaning the screenshots you can turn it off. For some you can't. It's just part of the
Yeah.
deal. And the reason why we're using all of these is, especially in outsourcing or in working with remote teams, there is this question of, is my team actually doing the job that I hired them to do? And we're not talking about like right now because of the pandemic, everyone's working from home anyway. So it's not just that, but really customers in
Still
other
talking
countries,
about the
it's
pandemic.
miles. Like it's miles and miles away. And
Yeah.
so the time trackers are here to kind of help customers track where, well, the time that they're paying for, I guess.
Yeah. And we keep going back to one of our core pillars of how we work with our customers. It's all about trying to build trust, right? If
Yes.
see, I mean, it also depends on the customer, right? Like, especially if they're new to outsourcing, the paranoia can quickly build.
Oh, true.
It,
Very
it
true.
can, right? Like, even with us, when you hire a new agency you haven't worked with yet, they, you know you when they say, "Oh, I was working on this," or if you're taking too many bathroom, are you really, or are you just literally away from the keyboard? And that's why we have, you know some, just, what's the word I'm looking for? We have, just, oh my god, I'm losing my mind, Fanny. Uh, Guidelines, like, good practice, best practices when it comes to working with, with a client who is thousands of miles away. You need to make them feel, it's really like this. We need to make you feel like you're just beside us talking,
Yes.
which means be very active in common chat rooms. Let us know where you are all the time, because it's a simple matter to say, "I'm away from my keyboard," so that when a client messages you and it goes, "Hey, Francis," right? 10 minutes of no response when you're expected to be
At
in
your
your
desk
desk,
working.
at your desk working, can build paranoia na, maybe this person is not working. And then, especially if you compound it with performance, unless you're an absolute stellar performer, that they can't question when they can't reach you at times,
Hmm.
so you compound those. Maybe you're at par or possibly even subpar, and then they can't reach you. You're doing something wrong. It's easy to put two and two together, which is why, you sort of mitigate that by making sure that you also have proof of what you're doing. So, you know I guess that's where I would stand in terms of why do we need it. And
Yeah.
sometimes people
I
feel, yeah. Oh yeah,
I think
go.
as businesses, businesses love data, right?
They do.
And so having a way to kind of export a report on, okay, what is everyone doing at a certain point, or is everyone actually here when we need them to be? Especially when you're talking about KPIs or metrics where you're not really meeting the metrics, and then you kind of want to dig in and figure out, okay, why aren't we
How can
meeting
I get this
our,
person?
yeah,
Yeah,
how, and then and a part of that is also attendance, because there are going to be projects or contracts or clients where they need you to be there
yeah,
at every single time, like especially for customer support where you're supporting like a lot of people for every single hour, and you have SLAs that you have to keep, meaning you have to reply to them, I don't know, 30 seconds, 30 minutes,
yeah,
1 hour, whatever it is. But when it comes to like digging into, okay, how do we get to our goal for this metric, attendance is also part of it, and having time trackers enables team managers, enables the business to actually go in and figure out, okay, we have a lot of absenteeism, let's figure out what's happening, or we have a lot of turnover, let's figure out what's happening so that we can solve and reach our goals.
yeah. No, that's okay. I think 100% agree. You know, when there are things that are what we use trackers for, and I think
Mm,
we've gone through some of that. You know, so we've gone through why it's necessary, because it's ease of tracking productivity, it's ease of visibility, or at least it
yeah.
lets you give data points on how you're spending your time throughout the day.
Yes.
Now the problem is, what do you think it's not, and where do you get resistance from people who have to use it?
I feel like the
Have
first
you ever
instinct
been
or
resistant
or
to
the
it?
default, I think the default thinking of people who kind of find out that okay, we're using time trackers, it has all of the screenshots and
Yeah,
everything,
time
that they're
tracker. Yeah.
actually, yeah, because there are people who actually really ask us, do you have a time tracker? Like, there are candidates who do, and they kind of they do get turned off when we tell them that there are certain accounts that do have time trackers. I feel like the number one thing that I'm hearing about is they feel like they're getting too controlled or micromanaged. And as everyone knows, like, who wants to be micromanaged, right? But is it really micromanaging? What do you think?
Is it? Well, I think there's a point where maybe that you can fall into the trap of micromanagement,
Mm,
right? Um, so if you're a team of five and the team gets done, and then the job gets done, time trackers might be more of a formality, right?
true.
However, when you have, and I think I think we discussed this at some point, that when you are a team of say 100 or 1,000 or even 100, let's do that. That if I can find a way to increase productivity by X, which means if I could say increase productivity by 5%, 5 minutes per person. So it either saves you billing hours, and 5 minutes
Mm-hmm.
times 100 is 500 minutes. That's a lot of minutes saved for the
Yeah,
company. Yeah.
yeah,
But what the problem for me becomes when you try to see, people aren't robots, right?
true.
Like there's a certain level of efficiency that you can achieve. But yes, I mean the truth is, uh if it takes you 5 minutes to handle a certain topic in a phone call, and you say, okay, but if you say this, and this, you can now handle a phone call in a minute and a half.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's 3 minutes, right? 3 minutes. Now you can take even more calls. When that becomes the expectation, you're now expecting somebody to take X phone calls in an hour
Mm-hmm.
because you thought, doing it this way, and now you're expecting. That's a person that needs to put the phone down and take a quick breather, right? And or rest for a little bit. You can't just, right? Or the other thing that it's not for me is now when you start having meeting after meeting after
Yeah,
meeting
true.
about how to discuss productivity. So you're having a meeting on efficiency, and then having efficiency meetings about efficiency. It's like, dude, at some point it becomes too much. Like the exercise itself, like what the amount of time you're saving, mind you this, the amount of time that you're saving from uh from agent productivity work, when you're now putting tons of leadership resources, when you have like a bunch of managers
Mm.
on one call for an hour, for how long, right? That takes it a little over the top for me. So micromanagement
Hmm.
doesn't. Mm,
I think for me, where it doesn't really fit, or where the micromanagement part, I guess, doesn't really fit, is if there's like an over reliance on what the time tracker says without any context. Like, you only export the report, and then you expect you most of you might expect, you're not going to expect 100%, right? 100% productivity, especially for those with keyboard clicks and, keyboard strokes and mouse clicks. You're not going to expect 100% productivity every single time, like for the report when you export it. You might, I guess the best would be 80, 85, because you do know that at some point there will be lull moments where someone is just thinking, someone is brainstorming or having a meeting. So you do, when you do export reports, don't just rely on what the time tracker says. Also look into the data and find out, okay, is there anything happening which made the productivity report kind of go down? On the micromanagement side of things, it's not really I think it only borders to micromanagement for me, where when there's no consideration of, hey, it's a meeting and you still have to click on your click on your keyboard, or still just so we can still pass whatever productivity report that we have. I think that borders on micromanagement for me, or where it's like you need to take a bathroom break, but that doesn't really it isn't really counted in your time tracker. Right? I think that's especially like those basic needs that you can't even do because you have a time tracker. That's probably one of the things that is a point against time trackers, if it doesn't have that kind of feature, or you don't have that in your workflow or in your policies in place. But yeah,
so maybe unpopular opinions, but try to talk to a European and try to talk to an American on their concepts of productivity. In Spain, for example, sometimes you can take an extra long walk. In Sweden, you can take an extra long lunch break. In the US, there are jobs where you can't even go to the toilet because you have to meet quota.
True.
Even imagine that. Like, you can't even, like, some people would just take bottles with you, like in the meat packing butchering industry. I've seen that. It's just that I think there's the part where the over optimization of efficiency has gone too far, where people are expected to work like robots, and then there's the other side where people are like, I might be taking a break, I will be back in a couple of hours because I'm meeting a friend, and nobody bats an eye except the Americans. So we just go back to why we're doing this in the first place, right? Like, companies need to feel that they're getting their money's worth. We 100% agree. That sometimes in order to build trust, we have to say, how do you want to feel that you're getting your money's worth, right? Like, when these people are working, I mean, there are industries where it's more of a formality that that we need to track the time. Maybe it makes the billing easier, but when you're dealing with say, for example, incoming phone calls, the phone will ring. But what would you need the time tracker for? If a call drops, for example, or if a call keeps dropping, then you have the data points to say, where is the fault? Now, what we're not trying to do is to point fingers. Is the agent intentionally dropping the call, right? But the truth is, it helps us find if it's an IT error, if it's a routing error, if it's a software error. That protects both sides of the equation, and it should be seen that way. So, what else? If I look at time tracking, it gives me an easy way to bill agents and not question where the time is spent, right? If you just have to recap the day and say, this is how I spent my day, submit, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. So I do see a lot of benefits to it. Are there times when it can go over? Yes, but that's maybe something that you need to deal with between you and your client, right? Because
I feel like with time trackers, you do have to kind of think about what's the actual job scope. Is a time tracker really needed? Like, or what type of time tracker because you can have time trackers, but there are different kinds of time trackers. Maybe for a creative or for a graphics design person or for a video editor, it doesn't have to be the one with screenshots, right? It could be just like a login just to tell everyone, hey, I'm here, I'm going to start working. And then with a tag or a note where I'm doing video editing now. Maybe it's just that for those type of jobs. But if it's like something with let's say customer support, technical support, because that's really how we've used it with Virtua, with technical support, where the client was really looking at the utilization or the productivity of the agent for every single hour. They're not looking for every single minute, but for every single hour, where they kind of want to find out where can they be more efficient, as well as helping out the team managers for this account to kind of see, hey, is my agent actually here already? Are they on break? Because you can do those tags in time trackers. I think that's the context that you would have to think about first before you decide which time tracker you want to use, or if you still really want to use a time tracker, because there are really pros in using a time tracker, especially on the business side of things, especially with what you mentioned earlier, building trust with your client, because they are miles and miles away, and having access to that data for them, whether it's you only have access to it or you will give them access to it, gives them a little bit of a reassurance.
Yeah, 100% agree. So we agree on what it is. We agree on what it's not. How do you now deal with people with, say, for example, with your agents, because they have to be the ones to use them. Yeah. And I think ideally, what does become a problem, there's a phrase I'm trying to translate in English. Not that so I'm just gonna say it. Alam mo yung takot kasi you're afraid of your own shadow. Like, would
I see.
Would it be a red flag for you when somebody's very resistant to,
I guess it depends on it depends on the resistance. Again, as I mentioned earlier, it depends on the job that they have. But if it's something that the client really wants to have for them to feel assured that everything's going well, or if it's something, it's a kind of job where you do need that kind of tracking, and they're saying, like, they're bulking, like they don't want time trackers and they're really adamant, yes, it will kind of affect my perception of that person, because this is a job, you want a job, but then you're kind of saying no to certain policies that clients want in place.
You will do it, but every time the topic comes up, you just, why do we have to do this? There's always resistance to the idea of, or there would be complaints about. I probably will tend to look at their
screenshots more,
a little more closely. You have to think, it's human psychology. Like, usually, the magnanakaw, galit
the
ako
ones
pag
the ones
magnanakaw.
who are really loud about it are probably the ones who are doing something else. That's why they don't they don't like it. I think if the objection was like, are we really using this time tracker because it isn't tracking time accurately for me. I'm logging out on time, but it's tracking like a minute before the time.
They've had a bad experience with it before.
Yeah.
There are valid concerns. Some people will just have, how can I use this? And some people just need to understand the why of it, and they will be okay with it. But some people immediately, like, and mind you, we have tons of stories about this before we just landed on time tracker. Just keeps going back to, how do you manage to take 18 bathroom breaks in a day? Because every time I message you, you're like 10 minutes late to reply, and it's not like you're working with several different departments. We're a team of 5 people. Oh, sorry, I was in the toilet. Oh, sorry, are you really in the toilet, or were you napping? Because I would have rather had you say, can I take a 5 minute nap? Which is even more, rather than lie about working when you're not. Diba? So
True.
time tracker solves the problem. So it solves the problem for me, but becomes a problem for somebody who suddenly who where it exposes that productivity drops after every now and then because shady.
I think in our experience with using time trackers, you really also have to look into, are you going to be using every single feature of it? And it's not just, as with all apps or software that you're going to use. It's not like you're going to, it's all plug and play. You can play around with the settings. There's still some sort of process or policies that you have to have in place even before you implement the time tracker. For example, when are you supposed to log out? When are you supposed to take a break? Should you tell your supervisor first and then log out of the time tracker? There are still those things that you kind of have to think about while you're using the time tracker, and have that in place, really, really think about it. The other thing that I would say in our experience in using time trackers is, of course, the screenshots with the data privacy, data security. If your client is also kind of very strict on it, I would suggest that you also take those off. It really depends.
Yeah.
Really,
No,
really
it really
depends.
depends. 100%. So, well, time for the audience to take. I mean, sound off in the comments what you think about it. Like if you agree heavily on time tracker because of the positive thing, building trust with the client, helping to scale operations. For the people, does it provide ease of time reporting, etc., or are you 100% against it because of various reasons? Please sound off in the comments below. And in for us, I suppose it's always good to recap. Time tracking for me is a wonderful way to build transparency, to build structure in terms of data points. It might even it's even a great opportunity because of the data points to to talk about whether the operations could scale up or down as necessary. And what's your take, Pens?
So I think we have the same take on this, where time trackers, you don't have to be afraid of a time tracker. It's really there to help you. It's not there to just monitor you, but it's also there to kind of also protect your performance in a way where,
Yeah.
again, if as Francis mentioned, if your performance has ever been questioned, you can actually use a time tracker as well, right?
Yes.
Hey, this is what I was doing this day, and these were the things that I was doing. I actually still also have screenshots, right? And so if you have any
You
questions
have
about payroll, hey,
receipts.
I have the evidence.
Yeah.
I have the proof
And
that
you
I'm
know
here.
what? And you know what? I'll add this as somebody who's very, very disorganized. Um, Maybe it helps to have you to know that you have somebody looking over your shoulder. You know that it's not a situation of when the cat is away, the mice will play. But if you
Mm-hmm.
know that you have somebody tracking, there's a constant reminder to keep your head in the game and not let your mind wander or go to so you and I'm saying this as a person who's easily distracted, right? If I had a 10-minute reminder that kachik it's a screenshot's going to here's a screenshot about to happen, but oh yeah, I'm supposed to be working, and somebody who constantly needs to be reminded about that. Oh yeah, it's 8:30. We just started the day.
So apart from that, I think we've also kind of we're just doing a recap, right? So
Yeah.
we've also kind of discussed where if you are a business, you're an entrepreneur, you're working with a remote team, or you are not an agency like us, and your team is working remotely. Really think about what type of time tracker you want to use or should be using, whether it's ones where you're just tracking logins, logouts, or whether it's the more I'm blanking on the word that we could call robust. There you go. A robust system where it's screenshots, URLs, all of those things, where it also has reports of what sites the agent has been into. Really think about what problem are you solving for when it comes to time trackers, so that you don't over monitor your people, and think about the settings that you would need to have, as well as the policies in place that you need to have with time trackers before you even implement them.
That is it for today's episode. So, please, 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 thank you so much for your time and following.
So please subscribe to our podcast. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Buzzsprout.
And please do subscribe to our YouTube channel as well, so you can see the faces behind the voices. You can also find Virtua Solutions on Facebook and LinkedIn.
And if you got a topic that you want to learn about or want to ask us about, please comment down below. But please don't forget to answer our What's Your Take question for this episode. So again, this is Penny.
This is Francis.
And thank you so
and
much
see
for
you
watching
in the next
BizNest.
episode. Yeah.
See ya.
Bye.